I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, February the 2nd, Groundhog Day, brought to you in part by RealMax. Check out the RealMax YouTube channel. It's full of free, relevant information to help improve ranch profitability. They put new content on there weekly. Also, be sure and watch the calving profitability playlist. If you're watching this on National Beef Wire, click on the icon below for more information. Almost 60,000 head on Friday, and that's in your 5-area feeding region, direct fed cattle sales. Over 59,100 head. We haven't seen that for a while. We've been trying to trade those things to Wednesday or Thursday. We haven't been waiting on till Friday late for quite a while, and it was so late that they didn't get those cattle confirmed until they got the whole week's roundup put together and the weighted average. We only had 17,400 head in your 5-area feeding region all the way through Thursday, and then through normal business hours on Friday, not a whole lot more, and then show up with nearly 60,000 head, and prices were higher. It made the gains that we saw in your fat cattle market last week more vivid. So in fact, your market was a little bit better than what we really thought it was, because we had more cattle selling towards the top of your price range, which happened late and later than what we'd seen all week last week. But not too bad a fat cattle market last week, and we hope we can gain another buck or two this week. No reason we shouldn't be able to do that. A lot of people still talking about the big hedge fund debacle last week, and if you guys remember, I told you, you know, those guys in the stock market are just now getting a dose of the medicine that ag commodities have been getting for the last few decades. But you know, I've had several people send me messages and things and say, you know what, if we would just all get together and buy a contract or two, whatever we could afford, go long on your cattle futures, you know, we could push that thing up higher. Yeah, no shit. But we can't get together on nothing. If the feedlots would just get together and not sell any fat cattle to these packers until they got to an acceptable price level, then we could raise the price on the fat cattle. That one price weekly market on your fed cattle would bring everything with it. It would pull your yearling prices higher, pull your calf prices higher, push your board higher. Everything would. We can't get together on anything. You think everybody's going to agree to buy a handful of long cattle contracts? No way. And we just can't do it. And like I've said a jillion times, that's why we don't get along very good on our cattle trade. Because it all starts out at the finished cattle level, and it's just so much harder to put 4,000 heads together or even 400 heads together than it is 4 heads together. So that's why we can't get anything done on that. Let's talk about your board to open the week. February live cattle futures down 17 cents at 114.87, still near 115, but really closed the gap on that basis. You know, and we had sales as high as 114, not many, but a few, but a lot of 113, so not too big of a basis there right now as we've moved into the contract month. April down 15 cents, it's sitting at 121.70. You go on out from there, and your back months were more supportive on both live cattle and feeder cattle futures. You know, we were talking about the back months being very supportive here over the last couple of weeks, and then they started to fade. Well, I think with the cattle inventory report showing indeed that we have a lot less cattle out there, and we will have going forward here for probably the next 3 years, it was very supportive. But out fronts on your live cattle futures up 62 cents to up $1. March feeder cattle up 20 cents at 137.92. April was up 32 cents on Monday at 140.107. Going out front there, and they were up 67 cents to up as much as 255 on your back months of your feeder cattle futures. Excuse me. Let's talk about your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade in your 5-area feeding region. I have already told you a lot about it. Through Thursday, we had only had 17,400 head in the whole 5-area region. But by week's end in your 5-area feeding region, we had 76,500 head with that big near 60,000 head Friday afternoon we had. That 76,500 is just 100 less than the previous week's trade and compares to 67,000 the same week a year ago. Your live sales of steers and heifers had a big range from 108.5 to 114. As a market whole there, that price spread there would be $3.50 to $4 higher than the previous week's big spread. But your weighted average on live steers was 112.44 this past week. That was up $3.21 compared to the previous week. That is a big, nice gain there, guys. How about dress sales? Steers and heifers ranged in price from $173 to $181. That would be $5 to $7 higher. Your weighted average price on dress steers $177.56, up just almost $5, up $4.98. I mean, it's about as much as we can gain in a week's trade there, where the board was not very supportive. It's just that we had such a disparity between what your new spot market was and what we were trading with before. But it's nice to pick up that much money in 1 week, and we need to continue to keep our foot on the gas and pick up a couple more this week. Nationwide sold 92,500 head of finished cattle negotiated. That compares to 276,800 we sold on the formula. But of the negotiated nationwide, the 92,500, about 12,400 or about only 13% of those were for 15 to 30 day delivery. And most of your guys, especially in the 5 area, were being very conscious of that. And whenever they were getting their bids, they're saying, hey, now I want to move these cattle right now. No time on them. We're not going to sit around and wait for 2 or 3 weeks or a month to get rid of them. We want to move them now. They were very conscious of that, so that helped that. And I think your packers were needing the cattle, and they were needing them right away, so that helped too. Not a lot of that going on, but we had a lot. We don't see typically a lot of forward contracting on fed cattle sales. It's not one of the main ways that they do it. Of course, they always do it, but it's not nearly as big as some of your other forms of transactions there. But we've had a lot of forward contract signings here of late, and just this past week we had new signings of 122,100 head. And if you look, these packers are getting lined up. They didn't need the cattle inventory report that we had Friday. They have known that we were going to be short of cattle. That's why, they were telling the people, and the people that are in the know, that's why they were supporting the back months on these cattle futures. And these packers have been trying to get out there and contract cattle for the second quarter for sure. And it may happen a little bit quicker than that towards the end of this first quarter. But they've got nearly 250,000 head of contracts for both March and April. That's the biggest we've had for quite some time. And, they're just kind of protecting their own interests and taking care of themselves there. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction. It's late on Monday at 137.54, up 11 cents from the end of last week. So fairly steady, but keeping up a pretty good clip actually, because we had some high sales there late in the week last week. So we were able to maintain that. But look at your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards, Oklahoma City, 10,500 head. Another big run for them. Feeders, $1 to $3 lower. Calves, $2 to $4 higher. Joplin Regional Stockyards, really muddy around there. They've had quite a bit of moisture in the form of snow, in the form of rain. Melted down and hard to get cattle out on those country roads around Joplin, and that's a really light run for them when cattle are moving, just over 4,000 head. Feeders sold steady. Stockers $1 to $7 higher. You think those guys aren't paying attention to how important that moisture is there? You know, that's big gains on stocker type calves there when you're setting in dead of winter. Let's talk about Russell Livestock, Russell, Iowa, 3,700 head. They didn't have a big feeder special last week, but compared to 2 weeks ago, their market was sharply higher. The market reporter there called the steer calves as much as $15 or $20 higher, and feeder steers $6 to $11 higher. I mean, just huge gains there. I think that might have been a little toppy there, but still, you know, some significant gains there compared to 2 weeks ago in Russell, Iowa. How about some individual quotes that I saw around? Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota on Monday sold 57 head, 690 pound steer calves, 156.50. That's awful good. How about Tri-State Livestock, McCook, Nebraska, 60 head, almost 800 pound steers, 799 pound steer calves, $147. That's $10 higher than your RTI based on an 800 pound steer next to 799 pound steers. But that's awful good. But I don't always do this, but I tell you what, they stuck out like a sore thumb. But the top quote that I saw anywhere, and your Zactran top quote for the day, come out of Faith Livestock, Faith, South Dakota. They were replacement heifers, come out of the Bartolotto Black Angus herd there, and I probably got that name pronounced wrong, but still, I tell you what a sale on these replacement quality Black Angus heifers. 68 head of them, weighed 755 at $172 by the pound, guys. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.